Let the vengeance begin!
Howdy, howdy, Sudevil here, and welcome to an online training match I had with Zardar Total Warrior in prep for my tournament match against DahvPlays. Now, I really didn't have a whole lot of time to prepare for DahvPlays and get any builds sorted out, but I knew what I wanted to play with the Dowie on this map, and I had done a lot of training matches with Zardar. If you haven't subscribed to Zardar's channel, go subscribe to him now. He is an up-and-comer. His multiplayer game is improving so fast. He's taking games off of guys like Janet on occasion, DahvPlays, Turin. He is so good and just getting better so fast. And he helped me a lot in this tournament. We probably played 20 games. Now, we hadn't actually planned on anything. I made an appointment with Dav to play. It was like 8 p.m. Eastern or something like that, and I'm usually early for my appointments. I've been really busy at work. It is what it is, but I'm always trying to schedule an appointment and make it. I'm usually a little early, so I was half hour early. Got on Discord, and Zardar just happened to be on Discord. We were just chatting away, and he said, well, why don't we play a little prep game? So it's not like he had a lot of time to think about this army. He didn't know what I was bringing, and I didn't know what he was bringing, and he put his army together in 30 seconds just to give me a little bit of prep to get going and just work on my micro and work on my build. So this is the exact same build that I played 15 minutes later against DahvPlays, and it is an all-in build. I've got the 2 gyrocopters, just the regular gyrocopters for dealing with Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes. They do not have armor piercing, but they are very good against low armor targets like Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes. And again, very heavy front line, all longbeards with great weapons. 4 in the front line. They're kind of like expensive chaff. My heavy hitters are in this back line with the hammers. And I've got 4 units of those, and I also have the Grumbling Guard. And they're all buffed up by this Runesmith's ability of Forge Fire for plus 10% armor piercing damage, and the Runesmith does have Rune of Wrath and Rune for the minus 48% speed against Kolek Suneater, and the Hammer of Karak for Kolek Suneater, which is what I expected against Dav. And I've of course got the Runesmith, or the Rune Lord. Mind you, he has the Master Rune of Wrath and Rune for the same reasons. He has the Locust of Power for the 15% magic resistance, specifically to do really well against death magic, is kind of what I expected. It's a pretty safe pick. And Forge Fire again for that 10 armor piercing. So I'm just upgrading their armor piercing, and I want to get these guys in. And again, this map is very, very small. So I'll go over Zardar's build again. Zardar picked this in 30 seconds. We're just waiting, and I'm waiting for the match, and we're trying to chatting with Dav. He's grabbing himself a bit to eat after he got home from work. So Zardar quickly put this army together, and in this army, this actually is more or less an army I kind of expected. So he has Chaos Poison Warhounds with Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes on both flanks. So he has that set up on both flanks. And he has some chaff units in the front, just Chaos Marauders, just to take charges. And he does have some Forsaken, which are very, very good against Slayers. And he has 3 units of these Chaos Warriors with great weapons who are really fantastic. They each got a chevron, and we know how strong they are. They're the best pound-for-pound armor-piercing infantry in the game right now. And he has 1 unit of Chosen with great weapons, and he does have Kolek Suneater. And Kolek, he's brought the Star Crusher for the 40% armor-piercing and plus 32% Flash Attack, which is good against the Dwarfs, Stand or Die for the leadership and melee defense, and Lord of the Storm for the magical damage. And he has Foe Seeker, and he causes fear and terror. And he brought a Chaos Sorcerer of Death. He has with him the Forbidden Rod for the great increase of power reserves, the Fate of Buna, which is pretty strong even with magic resistance. He has Spirit Leech and life leeching, and he's got evasion. I think he's on a mount. Yes, he is. So we'll get this battle going, and again, if you watch the tournament replay, you could see how this played out with Dav's build, which is very different and had hell cannons. But we'll get this going. Again, same idea. I want to get this army up and engaged, and I want to start casting, and I'm going to want to get these gyrocopters up and onto these Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes. Dav had two on his side, but I just want to start shooting into them and getting some shots down and getting some damage in. And there, I give my command. I just want us to go and start fighting. I want to get everyone into the engagement, and you can see Zardar's so good with his micro. He's already bringing his Marauder Horsemen over to this side, and he's bringing his Chaos Warhounds to come in and flank. And we're getting an engagement against the Forsaken with the Longbeards, which is going to be a good engagement. I've got the Master Rune of Wrath and Rune, or the Rune of Wrath and Rune, these Chaos Warriors with great weapons, and I've got the hammers into the engagement that I want, and I'm pulling these hammers through. I'm just crushing these Chaos Marauders really quickly. I've got the Runesmith on here, and you know, he's going to start getting cast, but now he's starting to fire into my gyrocopters. But I have, there we go, there's the bombs, and here comes, I think I get these guys routing. I don't know, their leadership is really, really low. I am taking some damage to these gyrocopters, but I'm putting some damage back on him. So I probably thought they were routing and just switched my targets. But I've got my Runesmith in, my Rune Lord in, and I'm really buckling these Chaos Warriors. You can see doing a great job against them. And once Kolak Suneater comes in, I'm going to use the hammer character draws, but I'm going to send the hammers right after Kolak. I mean, that's the engagement I want. I've got my Rune Lord there buffing everybody up. I am getting rear charged by the Chaos Warhounds with poison, and I'm up against these Chaos Warriors with great weapons. I'm holding pretty good against the Forsaken. Like, the Longbeards will do really good. He has routed my gyrocopters because I switched targets. This is a mistake I made in the very next game in 10 minutes. So how much did I learn? I don't know. I learned a little bit of something, so I got these Longbeards. You know, I can't remember where they were going, probably chasing over here. But I'm looking at this engagement. We've got the Chosen with great weapons here. They have standard eye, and he's just starting to rear charge into my hammers. And I've got the Grumbling Guard in here and another set of hammers. And I am getting that armor-piercing buff on. I do believe I have the Camera of Carrick draws on Kolak Suneater. So Kolak, he's only got a 16 melee attack here and 506 weapon damage, so he's gonna beat down my Rune Lord. I mean, I knew that, you know, but he can beat that Rune Lord in 25 seconds with Kolak, but it's taken a lot longer, so I'm gonna be able to bring in some units. I've cleared off some units here. The Chaos Warriors with great weapons are doing alright, and I'm just sending the hammers right after his caster. I've got one unit of gyrocopters just moving around. I really could have used them a little bit better, but so the Longbeards with great weapons are coming back in. I'm working down the Chosen with great weapons. You know, I have the buff going on for the 10% armor piercing damage on all my armor piercing units. I'm going to get Lord of the Storm here. We'll see how much damage that does to these guys. Longbeards with great weapons, 3,600. Or no, it's the Fate of Buna, so 3,200. Yeah, they're going to lose some health pretty quick. And we know we've got our Runesmith is taking a beating, but these hammers are doing okay. They're just, you know, just whittling everything else. He's got the Chaos Warriors with great weapons. I've got these hammers coming in. I'm trying to chase down his Chaos Sorcerer of Death. Still got my gyrocopters online. You know, they're not doing great. He's going to come and just route these guys off because I lost micro on them, and I'm going to come and just try and shoot them in the back. And he's pulling back some Forsaken, but this is the kind of engagement I wanted, where I can buff everyone. I got these Chaos Poison Warhounds. Now the hammers are going, but I have so much. I mean, these Chosen, again, I have the Master Rune of Wrath and Rune on them, and I'm beating them down. Kolak Suneater is coming on in, but now my units are, this is where the build starts to really show. I've got these Chaos Warriors with great weapon. I have the Rune of Wrath and Rune on them. You know, my Longbeards with great weapons are taking a lot of damage, but I have a lot more units because I've been able to keep my Runesmith and my Rune Lord into that engagement and buff all these guys up. I've gotten rid of these Chosen with great weapons, and now I'm just can focus on to Kolak, because these hammers will do damage to him. And you know, the Grumbling Guard is buffing up everyone. I mean, these guys are only very tired. They would probably be exhausted otherwise. I've got these hammers coming and collapsing. I'm trying to just keep my Rune Lord a little bit away, and you know, he's starting to pull everyone. He's routing my units. I'm routing some of his units. I'm kind of holding off these Chaos Marauders. Kolak is going to come in for a rear charge. I got to kind of find targets for everyone here and make sure I don't lose everyone. So you can see I'm trying to give everyone proper targets and get everyone going into the right spot. I am trying to protect my Rune Lord so I can keep him going, but I have been able to really do all right. This gyrocopter is doing a job. We still, I think we have some guys rallying back here. But, you know, this kind of engagement with the Runesmith, I mean, he's holding these guys off. I'm going to bring some hammers and the Longbeards to help. And I'm starting to whittle Kolak down. Now he's got Rune of Wrath and Rune on him again for the minus speed. So he's only got 60 speed. So he's a little bit easier to catch. I've got a lot of units on him. And I've got the Rune of Wrath and Rune on him. So, you know, it's really, I just brought him in to get fighting. I want to try and get his leadership low. I'm bringing back these guys. I've got my gyrocopter on. So he's still trying to use Kolak back and forth to get some charges, bringing in these guys, get some charges. my gyrocopters, I'm going to come in and try and get a charge onto these Marauder horsemen to slow them down, bring them in. My runesmith, just got beat down by Kolek, and he's now routing, but my rune lord is still online. He's still buffing everybody. It's close. This is a really, really hard fight for the dwarfs, but this is kind of the all-in build. Now he's going to come down and just beat down my rune lord. You can see how fast he damages them, but I've got some hammers. They're going to do some damage to Kolek as well. And now these units are really, it's an atrocious battle, but these guys are starting to get whittled down. My gyrocopters are still chasing. And, he's going to take Kolek out and try and bring him back in and regroup. He's beat the hell out of my rune lord, but this is where the Dowie leadership really starts to show. The hammers are not immune to fear and terror, but the Dowie have really good leadership, so I'm going to bring my gyrocopter to try and muck up Kolek and make it so he can't run away very fast, so I can keep getting damage on him. And just try to keep pushing out and stay on Kolek, keep getting damage on him so that I can kind of stop him. You can see Kolek's kind of being a little mucked up by the gyrocopters, so he's going to try and get him out and get him back around. But now everything else is starting to rout, so, and I still have a pocket of units left. I don't have leadership left unless my rune lords come back. No, he's chased off my runesmith. Make sure he's going to get off the field. These guys are going. These guys are coming back. But I am able to get good damage onto Kolek. He's got Foe Seeker on him, but he's getting shaken, very tired, and these guys are whittling away his health. They do have armor piercing. He has routed the gyrocopters off. Now the Marauder horsemen with throwing axes have used all their axes again. I wasn't able to get him off into this battle, but Kolek is very low, and so are all his units, so he has to get these guys routing with Kolek. It's been a long, atrocious battle, but I've been able to really whittle down Kolek. He's only got 500 health left, and there he shatters, and that's the battle. So, that was the whole idea of the build. Obviously, it performed a lot better in this because of the build that I expected. Like, Kolek got 166 kills, and there's no chaff here. I call these Longbeards expensive chaff. And he killed my Rune Lord, and he demolished my Runesmith. But I was able to hold him down and do pretty good against these Chaos Warriors and the Chosen, only 77 kills. I still, even in this practice battle, I got 38 kills and 6. I didn't do good enough against these Marauder Horsemen, and I didn't notice that after the battle. Like, Zardar did say, hey, you got to use your gyrocopters better, make sure they're running around, and because he was able to route off these gyrocopters pretty easily, but this is the kind of army this build was specifically meant to go up against, again, as a gamble, as a gambit. And when you're with a faction that struggles against another, like the Dowie versus Chaos, or, let's say you were playing the Tomb Kings against the Dowie, the Dwarfs have a giant advantage against the Tomb Kings in every way, so a standard army just won't do. You got to take some risks, and with the game against Dav, I took a risk. He brought hell cannons and really big ranged and some mobile armies and not a whole lot of heavily armored heavy hitters, and it was just an absolute demolition. Not to say if he would have brought an army like this that I would have won. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that clearly you can see that this gambit can pay off in the right situation, and I wanted to demonstrate that. And again, Zardar's a good player. Not like he didn't spend a ton of time picking this, and it was just he just popped online. He wasn't like he was been playing for 10 hours and stuff. He just wanted to give me a little bit of a go before I got into my playoff match, and I thank him so much. Like, again, he does legendary campaigns, and his multiplayer, he is absolutely screaming up ladder, so go subscribe to him and pay attention. He's an up-and-comer, and because he's got all the raw skills, and I knew that I've played a lot of games against him, more against Zardar than anybody else, and I've seen him improve so fast, because he started with all the skills. You look at all the games that I've played against him that I've casted, and all the games he plays, he does really good micro on the edges, he has lots of units on the outsides, he puts the right units on the right units, and he has really good management of his game. His click rate is really high, and he doesn't forget units, and he's good at using his magic, and good at cycle charging and doing all these things. And you watch his channel, you can just see him getting better and better. Where he's really improving is he's taken the time and spent time with anybody he can talk to just to get some information, and Janet on occasion has spent some time working with Zardar, which has been really great. His game is coming up. He's going to be I don't know if he's top 500 already, but he's going to dip his toes into the top, 2 or 300 very, very quickly. And I wouldn't be surprised if 6 months to a year from now you see him continuously up in the top 100. I mean, that's how good he is, and that's how fast he's improving. And one of the games, when you play like Zardar, Janet, Dav, Turin, Loremaster, of Sotek, and Black Iron Battles, and Shadow, and guys that play a lot of online multiplayer, those guys have a very, very daunting task. I played just the Dowie, but it's still daunting because I have to have armies ready. I mean, I can't pick armies like these guys. I can't just sit in the lobby and pick an army in 30 seconds. I mean, my videos. I did 7 videos on analyzing the matchup with the Lizardmen to come up with, basically one build. So it takes me time to think my way through these things, but you do that for every faction, and there's a lot to know and understand in this game, and that's where Zardar is really flourishing right now, and his improvement is just incredible because he is really developing a total knowledge of the game right now. So, and I would just, if you would go to his channel and just thank him on my behalf, I mean, it would be great. I would just love to see stuff like that because these, it's funny, I've met a lot of YouTubers over the last little while because I was part of Shadow's tournament. Shadow's fantastic, and, this is one example of, a guy who's really helped me a lot in just the training, because I was playing factions I'd never played before, and he just stepped up and we played some games, and he really made a difference in my game personally, because playing against him is so hard because he's rough. He's so good at cycle charging and getting his units around, and so it's quite fun to play against him, and it's very challenging and interesting games. And this game was very, very close. I can talk about this build a lot, and I did talk about it in the video I did with DahvPlays, how it's a concept. It is a gamble, it's a gambit, and it needs an army like this to pay off. And that's not the army that Dav brought. He brought an army that was just, couldn't have been worse. Just, I guess it could have been worse. He could have brought Kolek as well, instead of Sathoril. I mean, that would have probably been a little bit worse. But, it was a really fun match and very interesting, and I'm glad I had a chance to play this game against Zardar and to show the difference the build makes when you're making a gamble, because Zardar's a good player, and he's no joke. And he picked this army in 30 seconds, but you look at this army and you tell me which pick here was bad. I'd love to hear it, because I don't see any of them. They're all good. This is kind of standard picks. This is Turin brought Kolek and a Chaos Sorcerer of Death against me, 1 Chaos Marauder and 1 Forsaken instead of 2 and 2. And he brought some Cab, but he also brought 2 Marauder Horsemen and 2 Chaos Warhounds, 3 Chaos Warriors with great weapons, and a Chosen with great weapons. So, the guy knows his stuff, and he's really, really good. So you can see the strength of the build, because he's a lot better player than I am in every way I can think of. And the strength of the build sort of came through in this matchup. And I think it's a really good demonstration of the idea of bringing Gambit builds and what happens when you just come across an army that is really rough. And when you come across versus when you come across an army that the build is designed to do well against, the real difference in those two outcomes, especially when you're facing factions that are really tough to play against, like Chaos, Dark Elves, Beastmen are tough factions for the Dwarfs to play against. So the builds have to be more, they can't be as safe. They generally have to be a little bit more risky to pay off. And what happens when you have builds like this that don't match, they either pay off or they get absolutely crushed. And you'll see that. Actually, it's funny, playing Zardar, he's helped me with so many games, and he's crushed me so many times. And I was thinking game 1 against Shadow, I had a lot of time to prepare the videos for that and stuff, and I showed a couple matches where Zardar played the Chaos against the Lizardmen that I built, and he crushed me every time, but really helped me improve my game and my build. And this, I knew my build wasn't going to change it. I knew what it was going to be, and it's specifically meant to be a gamble. And in a matchup like this, it paid off. And in the build that Dav played, just got absolutely demolished. So anyways, I'm glad I got a chance to release this. Hope you found it interesting. I've been getting my tail whooped by chaos a lot lately. But I'm glad I can kind of present, the Dowie, with the right build against the right army. And that you guys could see this. I hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you go over and say thanks to Zardar. I'd love for anyone to do that. I know I've said that a few times because I have, thanked Zardar a lot personally, and I've had a lot of fun developing sort of a, just a fun little matchup and stuff like that, and really enjoyed it. So I hope you guys found it interesting. I don't really have anything else to say. I talk a lot. I know I get it. But hope you found it interesting. That's all I have to say, and I will see you soon.